So what's up guys, Mrwhosetheboss here, and welcome to 4 of my favourite smartphones of 2016. I really hope you enjoyed the video and you find it useful, and with that being said, let's get started. So we're going to kick things off with the Galaxy S7 Edge. Now not only does it have an awesome display resolution, the colours, the contrast, all top of the line, but the real thing that keeps me coming back to this phone is the bezel-less design. Not only does it look incredibly futuristic, but it's also functional. It really adds a sense of immersion that you just don't get with other phones. Even after migrating to the new Pixel XL, this is something that I thoroughly miss. On top of that, the camera is still one of the best. It takes detailed photos in a lot of different lighting conditions, and the video is one of the steadiest to date on an Android smartphone. It's one of the faster phones too. With the Exynos 8890, it is on paper at least beaten out by the Snapdragon 820 and the 821, but in real life performance you literally can't tell the difference. This is a top of the line processor, it's awesome for gaming, and it just flies through the UI. And not only does the S7 Edge have some personality, some character to it, but it also ticks all the boxes. It's got a good battery, SD card support, as well as water resistance. My only two complaints would be the poor speaker and the fragility of it. If you drop this thing, it's done for. So next up is the Google Pixel XL, and whilst my first impressions of the phone were good, the more I started to use it, the more I've grown to love the phone, and the first thing worth mentioning is its camera. And Google really should be applauded here, because this is probably the first Android smartphone where I'd say not only is it capable of taking amazing photos, but it makes it really easy to do. You simply swipe open this camera app and almost anything you shoot just looks amazing in all lighting conditions. With the Snapdragon 821 and 4GB of RAM, this is basically the fastest smartphone on the planet. Combine that with Android 7.1 and you basically get the slickest, smoothest experience ever available on a mobile device. It's truly impressive. No game is going to pose a threat to the Pixel XL. It's got a great screen, great battery life, and even a very solid build quality, although the design of it is a little bit questionable. Some people have said it looks a bit like a toy. There are some questionable omissions like the lack of SD card support and the lack of water resistance, but for those of you who want a pure Android experience, there's no better place to have it. So then we've got the Xiaomi Redmi Note 4. And you might be thinking, hey wait a second, this isn't really a flagship smartphone. Well no, but this is on the list because of its sheer value proposition. At just £130 today, you're basically getting an experience that's indistinguishable from what most £400 phones can offer. You've got a 1080p screen which doesn't have the highest contrast or the highest colour saturation, but compared side by side with the £719 Pixel XL, there's honestly not that much difference. The camera won't blow you away, but at the same time it's really quite impressive. It's got a fast shutter time, you don't get too much blur in the photos, a decent amount of aperture, good depth of field, and generally speaking a high amount of detail. And part of this at least is in thanks to the Helio X20 on the inside, and that's a 10-core processor. So yeah, the Redmi Note 4 is very quick, and in fact when I was using this phone, it was probably one of the few times I've ever used a budget smartphone and felt free to do whatever Android had to offer, without really worrying about if it was going to slow down or if it could cope with it. The company's done a lot of other things right too, such as bundling in micro SD card support, building a huge battery inside, and making the build quality all round just very substantial. It doesn't have some of the bells and whistles like water resistance that more expensive phones might, but in terms of core functionality, the fact that it can even hold its own in all these different categories against phones costing 4 times as much is just unprecedented. So I don't use Apple, but I do my best to be as fair as possible all the time, and credit where due, the iPhone 7 is an awesome phone. I mean, yes, in some aspects it is further behind a lot of the current gen smartphones. For example, its screen resolution, almost to the point where it seems like Apple is just being arrogant about it. The company has invested a lot in their software, and yes, while there are some glaring omissions when compared to Android, there's also a lot of innovation going on here that is genuinely useful. On top of that, when it comes to performance, the iPhone 7 honestly offers a faultless experience. Part of the benefit of this closed ecosystem that Apple's created is just that everything works. When you download a game, you know it will play perfectly on the iPhone 7 and it will look amazing while it's at it. The battery could be better, but the build quality is extremely sturdy, and the camera is arguably one of the best on the market. The fact that Apple has made it so easy to take good photos makes it accessible to a really wide audience. So guys, there you have it. Those were 4 of my favourite smartphones for 2016. Not only great smartphones in their own right, but also great value for money. I really hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, be sure to smash that like button. These videos take me ages to make. And with that being said, I'm Mrwhosetheboss, and I'm signing out.